What's going on, people? Gunsblazing back at it again, and I created another alt to try out this deck. It's called Dragonlink. Pretty fun deck to play, and as someone who is just stepping into the format for the first time, I think it's a good deck to learn. Main reason being, the combos are very intuitive in this deck. It's something you don't really have to watch a combo video for. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but it's also something you can just figure out by yourself. And that's something I wanted to do more moving forward because I think it will give me a greater understanding of how the deck actually works, and it will also help me when I'm building or learning new decks, as opposed to just blindly following a combo video. Dragonlink's core is mainly rockets, but it's actually just a bunch of small dragon engines in a deck, which is pretty cool because they somehow synergize well together. And it also makes it easy to break down the deck in your head into small little groups so you can learn it faster. Anyways, on this tester account, I managed to win 20 in a row, which is a full match history of wins. And yeah, it's a new account, so obviously it's just duels in gold and low elo. But for what it's worth, at least that can tell us, like, first of all, the deck is pretty brick-proof. Like, we won't have random games where we just insta-lose by having a bad starting hand. And that's because Dragonlink has a bunch of 1 and 2 card combos. There's actually very few ways for the deck to brick. And second is that the deck is very intuitive and forgiving to learn. As I said, I haven't watched many combo videos on this, it's mostly just figuring combos out on my own. But I'm saying, like, despite me being new to the deck and making a lot of misplays, it still managed to carry me to a streak. Might be wondering how it stacks up versus meta decks like Tri-Brigade, Drytron, etc. And from what I see, it's definitely not in that tier, but it's in that big group of, like, viable decks that can just hold its own. Like, it's a deck that's consistent but not too powerful, and what I mean by that is your board turn 1 is probably gonna look something like Seals for a bounce, and then you got 1 or 2 big dragons to negate. For me, I've been ending a lot on Seals and then either like Hot Red or Borreload Savage. You'll see after this combo's done. But yeah, like 2 or 3 interruptions is not a lot of interruptions. Lots of decks can probably play through that. But at least you'll always have that with a very low chance of breaking. It is dragons though, so like there are ways to put like a bunch of different engines to make it have more potential. We'll talk about that a bit more later, but essentially like you're sacrificing some of the deck's consistency in order to end with stronger boards. One of my favorite things about this deck, replaying this part here, is using Chaos Ruler's effect. Where you excavate 5, you pick up any light or dark, including stuff like Nib and Effect Veiler, which is why it runs multiple copies of it. So it can add an extender or an interruption to your hand, and you send fuel to the grave, and it can Chaos Banish and revive itself from the grave. It's just a lot of neat effects in one package. So this particular combo ended with Seals Bounce and 2 negates, and a Nib in hand, which obviously they'll know you'll have a Nib. But a Nib in hand is still a Nib in the hand, you know? It's also nice to pick up an Effect Veiler sometimes. There's not as much they can do to play around that. Another thing I like is that the deck can kind of play through like when your combo gets broken up. This Golden Boy decides he's gonna Torrential 1 dude, which it's not the best example, but as you'll see, all the little different engines will allow me to play through this and have enough on the board for game. One of the more important building blocks in this deck that you'll be using a lot is Striker Dragon, which is summoned right now. It searches booty for lunch from your deck, which just enables you to special summon any rockets from your hand. And Rokket Tracer by itself can get you a level 8 Synchro. Here's another key piece, the Romulus, which can search Ravine, and Ravine can send some important dragons to the grave. So you can send one from your hand and your deck. Usually that's an Absorouter, which lets you add any rocket to your hand. And from the deck, I sent Galactic Spyro Dragon, which can freely summon itself from the grave to extend your play. And so here the order was kind of scuffed, which limited my options. Still, we pushed for enough damage and still had Borreload Savage in case there was like some kind of battle hand trap. Anyways, this is how I was running it. It's a very bare bones version of the deck. As you can see, we also run Red Eyes Darkness Metal along with Black Metal Dragons. That's also a 1-card combo, I'll show you later. Got the Rockets on deck, got the Starliege Seyfert package on deck. Levianeer's up in this bit for the Duel Links Bajos, but he actually like adds some nice power to this deck. In the extra deck, the most important ones are Borreload Savage, Chaos Ruler, and Hot Red. And of course Seals, which is why I'm running more than 1 copy, and of course Striker Dragon. Striker Dragon and Romulus, 2 important pieces to get your combos rolling. Can toss in 1 or 2 level 8 Xyz monsters for your Galactic Spiral Dragon. Reason people can run multiple Nibs and Effect Veilers, by the way, is because like they're Chaos Fuel, plus they're searchable again by Chaos Ruler and also can be used for Chaos Space and Seyfert. I've been saving 2 or 3 slots for some back row hate. Been trying Twin Twisters too, but I want to try Cosmic Cyclone too because it actually banishes cards. Lots of Eldritch running around and just a lot of decks that have a lot of annoying back row. And again, there's many different ways to like build this deck. Lots of small combos you can add. Another thing people like, which I also tried, is a small chamber package so you can get tiding, you can get more bounces. There's like 50 card versions, 60 card versions of this that include a bunch of different things. Some people add Albaz, some people add like a Dragoonity combo in there. Some people add a bunch of Dragonmaid stuff, including Shiyu. And of course that will give you the potential to have more negates on the board. And eventually that's something I want to try, like 50 to 60 cards. Helps you not draw the one-ofs that you don't want to draw. That's on my to-do list, like a 50 to 60 carder, including Dragonmaid, Dragonlink, and Dragoonity, which by the way, I've also been playing a lot of Dragonmaid, trying to get it to work. Dragonmaids do suffer a lot from bricking and consistency, which is what pushed me to try Dragonlink instead. I love me some Dragonmaids, but if I'm playing the combo variant, it's gonna brick a lot. But if I'm playing like pure Dragonmaids, it doesn't pack as much of a punch, you know? Like similar to this deck, it'll be more consistent, but at the end of the day, you're just gonna have like Shiyu to negate something. And then the top tier decks are just gonna run you over. But if they don't, then Dragonmaids gets to play their long grind game, which is what they're good at. Got a nice duel in the background with some back and forth with Cyber Dragons. By the way, do let me ask you, kindly answer in the comments below what your favorite dragon deck is in Master Duel and or TCG, whether it be a pure build or some kind of variation or combination. Because this month as a dragon enthusiast, I kind of don't want to climb with Bird up again. This time I want to take the dragons to the top, but I'm having a hard time committing to one specific dragon deck or archetype. Anyways, on this duel, this guy managed to clear my board. Actually almost kills me because of the multi-attacking effect of that middle monster of his. Here's where the reviving of Dragonmaids just puts in a lot of work. I get the Nurse Revive. I can also reuse Changeover by bouncing one of my Dragonmaids. I go for a house here instead of a Shiyu because I needed to get rid of that Nib token. So he clears my stuff. This turn I clear his stuff, end off on a Seals. His turn again, he's actually going to use my Seals for his fusion monster. And it's going to swing back to his favor again. The Cyber Dragon Link monster gets to double its attack. I animate Protagonist top deck the Chamber, which allows me to get back my Nurse. And all in all, I just use a bunch of shenanigans, get my Shiyu back, get my house back. Although this Shiyu can actually not negate because I'm out of houses in the extra deck. But since I fused into a house earlier, I can actually use this chamber to tag out into a house. And that will be my ticket to getting over this 4,200 because once I swap back out Lorpar, I can destroy any monster with house. And it's kind of crazy how this guy still has some steam left in him after having only 1 or 2 cards in hand for like the longest time. But after a long grind fest, my board's fat. He seems to be out of option. Got almost scared for a second there, but it turns out it's only Chimera Attack Rampage, and whatever he goes out into, once battle phase starts, I can just house destroy. But anyways, back to the topic of Dragonlink. Really enjoyed learning some combos with this deck, just like figuring it out. And for me, that's one of the most fun things, like transitioning from Duel Links to Master Duel. And also why I like Master Duel a lot more. Like looking back, Duel Links was fun, but once I started playing Master Duel, the more it felt like Duel Links was just the tutorial to this game. It was a lot easier to burn out on Duel Links because there wasn't really a lot of depth to the decks that you could build and learn. Like you could pick up a deck, but since the game is a lot more simplified and the decks are smaller size, you'll pretty much know the ins and outs of the deck and all the combos within like a day or two of playing it. But in Master Duel, there's a lot more to learn in terms of combos and interaction and matchups and even like just deck building itself, which gives a feeling of like, you know, there's more mastery, there's more skill expression to be had here. And that's something I felt like it was lacking in Duel Links. Anyways, before I end off this video, there's probably like a lot of people that have subbed recently because the last 2 vids popped off. And they're both kind of like meme decks, the Exodia decks. But if you're new to the channel, it's not always meme and Exodia decks here. We try to keep a good balance. I just try to have fun with the game, try whatever decks I want to try out. Sometimes we play fun decks, sometimes we play pure sweaty decks. And for now, we're also live every day on Twitch except Saturday. Link in the description below. Anyways, guys, have yourselves a good one. And this is Guns Blazing, signing out.